Hello, everyone, and today we are going to be talking about profit and loss. This is a very interesting and crucial chapter for you when you are in your eighth grade. So let's get started. So, profit and loss is a kind of a chapter where you have to learn about the trade. So, selling things, buying things, what profit did you gain? Did you lose something? That's what comes out when we are learning about profit and loss. So, this comes with a couple of keywords that one must know and I will share those with you now. The first one is the cost price. Say I bought a carton of apples at a certain price X. So that is known as the cost price of the object. So it is the price at which any article is purchased. Next one is the selling price. Say I sell this carton of apples at a price of Y. So that becomes the selling price. Next is profit. Say I buy this apple carton for 100 rupees and sell this carton for 120 rupees, then I've gained a profit because my selling price is greater than my cost price or the buy price. So formally, if the selling price is greater than the cost price, we have a profit. Next is loss. Say I buy the carton at the same price, apple carton for 100 rupees, but because of slow progress and slow business, I'm not able to sell it. So I just sell it for a lower price, and that is 80 rupees, then I am having a loss. So formally, if the selling price is less than the cost price, we have a loss. We can also write down the rule of thumb for these. So profit is selling price minus cost price, and loss is cost price minus. So now let's look at some rule of thumbs uh, when we are solving profit loss questions. So the first one is profit percentage. So in order to find the profit percent, we need to be very careful. Profit, which can be defined as selling price minus cost price. When we have that number, we divide it by the cost price and then multiply it by 100 to get the profit percentage. Similarly, that's the same for loss. So you have to make sure that anytime we calculate profit percentage or loss percentage, this should be only calculated as a percentage of the cost price and not the selling price, because cost price is the original value on which the percentage is calculated on. Next is, if there is a profit percent, then that can be written as selling price is equal to cost price plus profit percent of cost price. And we've already done this when we were doing the percentage one. So I can write this down in a very clear manner of the final thing. So SP would be equal to 1 plus profit over 100 of cost price. That's a big rule of thumb. And similarly, if there is a loss percentage, say L percent, then SP would be CP or cost price minus loss percentage of CP. And if we write this in a rule of thumb, that would be SP equal to 1 minus loss over 100 of CP. And that's that. There's another new thing called overheads. And these are basically additional expenses that happen whenever you are doing any kind of a trade. So the trade it does not just include, say, buying the product and then selling it. It also include a lot of variable aspects, which are like transportation, labor, commission, etc. There are a lot of things that we need to see, and therefore these overheads are included as part of the cost price whenever we are trying to calculate any sort of loss or profit percentages. So the rule of thumb is overheads are always calculated and added to the original cost to get the total cost, and the profit or loss percentage is calculated on the total price. Let's understand these concepts using very basic examples. So our question is, John bought a watch for 540 rupees and sold it for 585 rupees. So we have to find the profit and the profit percentage. This is a very simple example. So let's get started. First of all, cost price of the watch is 540. Selling price of the watch is 585. So in this case, we are getting a profit because our selling price is greater than the cost price. So we'll just put that as profit. This is equal to selling price minus cost price And this gives us 585 minus 540 with the value of profit as 45 rupees. If you want to find the profit percentage, we know that this is profit over cost price. Remember, it's cost price into 100, and that whole thing would be a percentage. So our profit is 45 rupees, and the cost price is 540 rupees. Multiply it by 100, and we simplify this to get 25 over 3%, or 8 1/3%. So next question is, the fruit vendor buys a number of oranges, and if the selling price of 6 oranges is equal to the cost price of 5 oranges, find this profit or loss percentage. So let us take the cost price of the vendor of 1 orange to be X rupees. So the cost price of 5 oranges would be 5x. Selling price of 6 oranges has been said to be equal to the cost price of 5 oranges, which is equal to 5x. So selling price of 1 orange would be 5x divided by 6. So now we know the cost price of 1 orange, 5x, sorry, cost price of 1 orange is x, and the selling price of 1 orange is 5x by 6. So as 5x by 6 is lesser than x, therefore the seller is incurring a loss. So the loss is x minus 5x by 6, which comes out to be x by 6. Now we'll find the loss percentage, which is going to be the loss over cost price into 100. That comes out to be x by 6 divided by x into 100, which can be simplified as 100 by 6 or 50 by 3. All this is percentage, which can be written as 16 2 by 3%. So that's the loss that the seller has incurred. Let's try another example. So say Rohit brought an old scooter for 11,500 rupees and spent 1,000 rupees on its repair. And he then sold it again for 15,000 rupees. Find his loss or gain percentage. So here we have an interesting thing. We have the original cost price, which is 11,500. We also have an overhead, that is 1,000 rupees. And then we have a selling price of 15,000 rupees. So let's see. So the cost price of scooter would be the original price plus overhead. And here original price is 11,500 and the overhead is 1,000. So that comes out to be 12,500 rupees. The selling price has been given, and that is 15,000 rupees. So here we see that the selling price is greater than the cost price. So we have incurred, or Rohit has incurred a profit. And that is 15,000 minus 12,500. And that comes out to be 2,500. And now let's calculate the profit percent. That's going to be profit, that is 2,500, over the cost price, that is 12,500. We multiply it by 100 to get 20. So let's move on to a bit more of a conceptual question. So Harpreet has brought a camera for 12,800 rupees, and we need to find the selling price if in the condition 1, the profit is 15%, and in condition 2, the loss is 10%. So let's first start with the first one. So we need to find a profit of 15%. So we already know the cost price of the item is 12,800 rupees. We need to now find the selling price for the profit of 15%. So we remember our rule of thumb where we have 1 plus profit percentage over 100 into cost price. And that's how we are going to calculate the selling price. Let's substitute the values. We have 1 plus 15 over 100 into the cost price of 1280 rupees. And this gives us 1,472 rupees. So if we sell it on a profit of 15%. Let's look at the second scenario where we sold it at a loss of 10%. So again, we have the cost price of 1280. And through the rule of thumb, we know that the cost price would be 1 minus loss over 100 into cost price. And this comes out to be 1 minus 10 by 100 into 1280. And that is 1,152 rupees. So let's look at the second question. So now we have a shopkeeper that has purchased 250 bulbs for 12 rupees each. However, 5 of the bulbs are bad and have to be thrown away. So remaining 245 bulbs were sold at 15 rupees each. And now we have to find whether he had a gain or a loss and find that percentage. So we know cost price of one bulb is 12 rupees. So cost price of 250 bulbs is 12 into 250, which comes out to be 3,000 rupees. So there were 5 bulbs that were fused. So the remaining bulbs would be 250 minus 5, which comes out to be 245. And those were sold. So the whole selling price of 245 bulbs, 15 into 245, which comes out to be rupees 3,675. So the selling price is greater than the cost price. So the shopkeeper incurred a profit. So the profit can be calculated as selling price minus cost price, which comes out to be 3,675 minus 3,000, which comes out to be rupees 675. Profit percentage can be calculated as the profit over the cost price, and the profit is 675 over the cost price, which is 3,000 rupees. We multiply it by 100, we get a value of 22.5%. That's the profit percent. So we have been doing a couple of questions till now, and if you have any issues or any problems regarding these questions, please feel free to jot down in the comment section or even email me at drmeghnasthana@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe. So coming back to the question, we have a shopkeeper that has purchased 60 articles at 150 rupees each. And if he sold one third of them at a loss, what price must he sell each of the remaining items so as to gain a profit of 10% on the whole deal? And this might be a bit of a tricky question, but we'll tackle it stepwise so you won't get into any problems. So we know that the cost price of one item is 150 rupees, and we have 60 items, so that comes out to be 9,000 rupees. And he wishes to have a 10% profit on the whole deal. So the 10% profit on 9,000 rupees, we'll use this rule of thumb where we calculate the selling price using the profit percentage, and this comes out to be 1 plus 10 by 100 into cost price, that is 9,000, and this comes out to be rupees 9,900. So this is the exact price, this is the exact value at which the whole deal, if sold, would give the shopkeeper a profit of 10%. So we already know that he sold one third of the item at a loss of 6%. So let's first find out how many articles were sold in this deal. And this comes out to be 20 items. So let's calculate the cost price of these 20 items. Comes out to be 150 into 20, which is 3,000 rupees. And as you know, these were sold at a loss of 6%. We'll find the selling price based on that. We'll again use this rule of thumb. But here, because it's a loss, it would be a minus sign over here. So 1 minus loss into CP, cost price. And that comes out to be 1 minus 6 by 100 into the cost price, that is 3,000 rupees. And this gives us the entire number as rupees 2,820. So now we know two big numbers that are important. That the first one is the 9,900. That should be the total amount he brings back. And 2,200 is the amount that he got from the loss of 6% trade. So for the remaining 40 articles, the selling price should be 9,900 minus 2,820 to bear up all the losses so that he gets the 10% gain anyways. So here we get the value of 7,080. So he has to sell the remaining 40 articles for this 7,080 rupees. Otherwise, he would not get the profit. So for 80 article, the selling price is 7,080. So for one article, selling price would be, so we'll just divide 7,080 with 40, and this gives us 177 rupees. So this question has a lot of points. So we'll have the first point where we calculate how much profit does he need, the cost, the selling price he needs for a 10% profit. The second one is we need to calculate the trade in which he lost the 6% on 1/3 of the articles. And the third one is the trade that he needs to do in order to gain back that loss and still have a profit of 10%. So this is our final answer. I know this is a complicated question, but if you get an intuition of it, it would be great and you can solve any kind of question. So just stay focused on this one. So this is our last question and it's not that difficult, but it's an interesting one. So in this question, it tells us that Manish has sold a bike for 10% profit. And if it had been sold for 75 rupees more, the profit would have been 16%. And we have to find the cost price of this bicycle. So how much was that originally? Okay, so let's take the cost price. Let's assume the cost price to be X. So the selling price in the first scenario where he sold the bike for a 10% profit would be 1 plus profit by 100 into cost price. And this comes out to be 1 plus 10 by 100 into cost price X. And this comes out to be 110 by 100x or 11x by 100. 11x by 10, sorry. Let's go to scenario 2. So that selling price can be again calculated through the 1 plus profit percentage formula. And this comes out to be 1 plus 16 by 100 into x. That comes out to be 116 by 100 x. So for scenario, this is the scenario for SP. This is the SP for scenario 1. And this is the SP or selling price for scenario 2. In both cases, we've used the profit percentage. Now we have X in both these selling prices, and we also have a variable, or sorry, we also have an equation which can equate these two, and then we can solve for X. So let's see. So it says that Manish sold this bike for 10%, and if we add 75 rupees more to this profit would become 16%. So if we add 75 to SP in scenario 1, this would become the SP in scenario 2. So we can write this as 11x over 100. So 11x over 10 plus 75 gives us 116 over 100 into x. Now let's solve for it. I'll just simplify this 116, which comes out to be 29 by 25x. And if we solve for x, we get 29 by 25x minus 11 by 10x equal to 75. Solving again, we get 58x minus 55x equal to 75 into 50. Yeah, 3x equal to 75 into 50. Our x value is 25 into 50, which comes out to be rupees 1,250. So that's our final answer. This is the cost price of the bike. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for more content that's coming up on discounts and GST and taxes. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Bye-bye.